a large hand for them if you would. A large hand if you would.
Thanks everybody, thanks for being here. We're super happy to be here. It's wonderful to see so many special people here at the Manor. Thanks to Anthony and Sean for hosting us. So Leo had this idea. He made a piece for Convocation at Juilliard in September, and we seemed to all be getting along and having fun, so he was like, man, we should start a band. It'll be like Sigur Rós, only Sigur Rosenmüller, and eventually it became Rosenmüllers Cigar. You see the genesis of that. So we're going to start with my newest rap cantata, extremely new, like ridiculously new. Like hopefully we can get through it without stopping. It's the story of Erysichthon. Like all of my rap cantatas, it comes from Ovid. Erysichthon is not a famous story. It's at the end of book 8. This guy violates a sacred tree. He's kind of a dick. And he gets punished, by the tree's keeper, which is Demeter, or Ceres, you'll hear her called. She sics hunger on him, and he gets super hungry. So here we go. Let's try it out. King Lelix made an end to his story, and everyone was moved by its eloquence and beauty, Theseus perhaps more than any. The nymphs made another round and filled the jeweled cups, and everyone was warm in Aeschylus's damp and turfy hut. Let's hear another story of the gods, said mighty Theseus, and Aeschylus, the river, sometimes wild, sometimes mellow, propped himself upon his elbow, shook his thick and streaming beard, and captivated all of the reclining heroes with the story of Erysichthon. He said, we all know that the gods traffic in metamorphoses, sometimes as reward, sometimes punishment dealt harshly. Some are changed permanently. Others have ability to shift their shapes constantly, like Proteus, who lives deep in the sea and has this ability to promulgate his newest shape. He's never quite exactly as he seems. I have seen him as a youth. I have seen him as a lion. I have seen him as a wild boar. I've seen him as a dragon. I have seen him as a raging bull. I've seen him as a hawk. I have seen him as a tree. I've seen him as a rock. I have seen him as a stream, like me as running water. I've seen him as a fiery flame, sometimes cooler, sometimes hotter. Well, no less power had Mestra, the wife of Autolycus, he the son of Hermes and Chione, who died in the arms of King Ceyx. Mestra was King Erysichthon's daughter, and surely she deserved a better father. Erysichthon was a dick, let's be honest. He scorned the gods and never offered sacrifices. That's fine, he would be punished in the afterlife. But then he forced his servants to take part in his impiety. Ceres has a sacred grove of trees. You know Ceres. Sometimes we call her Demeter or Dio. Erysichthon entered with an axe of glinting steel. He knew that Ceres loved her trees, and piously he violates them, chopping as he pleases, until the grove is nearly cleared. Oh, they are chopping those trees down. In the center is an oak, an ancient gnarled oak, enormous, thick and strong. It had seen centuries of growth. This was the most sacred tree of all, decorated all with votive tablets, woolen fillets, wreaths of flowers. Dryads held their dances here during festal hours. Ever since this tree was planted, pilgrims came to ask their prayers be granted. A huge huge, enormous oak, its trunk 15 yards in diameter. Towering above the other trees the way other trees towered over grass that grew beneath. Well, surely you'd be mad to take an axe to such a miracle of nature, but Erysichthon is a monster. First he orders slaves to start the axe and start hacking, but they all shrink back. He snatches it, announces, "Fine, this may be the holiest tree around, but even if it were the goddess herself, today the leafy top will touch the ground." Oh my God, can you believe this guy? So Erysichthon spoke and wound up to give a stroke. The giant oak shuddered and groaned. It seemed to grow pale, and it issued forth a moan. Whack! He sinks the axe deep into the trunk. Immediate, he's soaked with a thick stream of blood. Everyone's astonished, and even more so when Erysichthon winds up to deliver another blow. Now one of his servants snaps into action, surely overbold, but appearing as a hero, and holds it back. "I cannot let you disrespect Demeter like that." Erysichthon turns on him with eyes glowing red and takes the axe and chops off that man's head. Well, now I know nobody wants to get involved, and can you blame them? And as he chops feverishly, working without mercy, a tiny voice issues from deep inside the tree, begging Erysichthon to take pity. But it was only a matter of time before King Erysichthon accomplished his horrible crime. Eventually the tree became so weak that it succumbed. With a terrifying groan, it fell down and leveled every tree all around. The Dryad sisters are stupefied. They look in stony silence, and tears fill their eyes. Black robes donned, faces well veiled, in mourning they approach their goddess, telling her they failed to avert disaster, longing her to punish Erysichthon. This king deserves her wrath for destroying such a relic of the past. While Ceres nods her beautiful head, shakes her long blonde locks, and when Ceres nods, every grain of wheat in the whole wide world nods with her. Imagine that. Ceres smiles to herself. She knows the perfect punishment The kind of thing that would bring immense pity. That is, if anyone can pity such a monster of impiety that traffics in such notorious deeds. And what is her plan? No wonder that you wonder. She'll call on her nemesis, hunger. Now Ceres is the goddess of satiety and bounty. It's actually illegal for she and Gaunt Hunger to consort together. One would kill the other, and the fates would not allow it. So she calls on a rustic mountain deity, an Oread they're called, and honors her by charging her to be her courier. Addressing her, she gives a solemn message for Hunger, with detailed instructions on how to perform this noble task. And so the mountain nymph took the reins, and in a twinkling she found herself in Scythia. She unyoked the dragons on a mountaintop, called Caucasus to those poor souls who knew the spot. The air was cold and clear, and easily she spotted a Hunger, squatting in a stony field. Hunger, a disgusting goddess, picking with her nails and teeth at the scanty moss and lichens that were only barren there. Her hair was long and thick and matted, lacking luster. Ratty, her eyes were sunk deep in their sockets. Where her cheeks should have been, there were only hollow pockets. Face as pale as death, and thin lips issuing disgusting breath. Dry and callous, scurfy throat, skin so thin that organs could be seen protruding. Her hollow loins presented bulging hip bones. Her breasts hung free, sagging and empty. Her belly displayed a gnarled spine, arthritic joints, rotten teeth, and just a hint of scoliosis. In general, presenting a picture at once precarious, unwholesome, atrocious. The tender young nymph didn't dare approach, and looking at Hunger, she felt the bile rise in her throat. She called from afar what Ceres had bidden her to say. Then, wasting no time, she got the hell away. And though she stayed for only a minute at a distance, already she felt bitten by Hunger's insistence. Back to Thessaly to feed. Hunger, though Ceres was her natural sworn enemy, agreed, and flew on wings of wind until arriving at the king's appointed mansion. Erysichthon slept, and from his greetsome piety, Hunger took her place inside the room, witnessed only by the bloody moon, crawled into bed with him, and spooned. She wrapped her skinny arms about him, breathed on him and filled him with her deadly fair, kissed him with her famine, drowned her with hunger, filled his throat and breast and hollow veins, and did the holy work for which she came. And then she left this fertile world, returning to her daily haunts, the land of gruesome toil and want. Soothing sleep held Erysichthon happy for a while, and in his sleep he dreams of feasts and eats them with a smile. His phantom food is fooling him, he wears his teeth and chews on naught but air. His stomach, though, awakens him, reminding him in fact there's nothing there. His belly burns, a hunger that it never felt before consumes him. Immediate, he screams for his servants to assume the role of waiter, prepare the fare and load the table till it risks collapsing. He calls for forest beasts and feasts on venison and bison. He calls for birds that wing the air and fills his maw with sparrows, larks, and many more. Ground birds too he tears into a chicken, then a turkey, then an ostrich, then an emu, pheasant, duck, and even peacock. Now he calls for everything the wild ocean gives, guzzles oysters, mussels by the thousands, shrimp and prawn, jellyfish and octopus and squid, plus fishes, mackerel, herring, swordfish, marlin, sunfish. Giant bowls of insects are placed before him, crunchy locusts, katydids, grasshoppers and beetles, and still his hunger needles, and still his hunger wheedles. In the middle of his feast, he screams he needs another feast. In the middle of his meal, he cries, "Why do you deny me what I need? I need to feed!" The servants stand and gape. His mouth is full of food, and yet he cries he's starving, still refuses nothing at a rate alarming. Eating like he eats for a city, eating like he eats for a family, eating like he eats for a county or a country. What could have fed a nation is not enough for him. Just as oceans swallow streams and never feel their full, just as fires swallow logs and ever grow and never cool, Erysichthon eats, but the food is fuel. Every bite he takes, he needs two more to take its place, banquet after banquet, and he screams for more. Why are you so sluggish? Nourish me before this need destroys me. But every bite he takes relates to why he feels so empty. Well, this goes on for weeks. Erysichthon eats and eats and weeps. His belly's an abyss. He fills it with insistence, but it ever craves more. And now his whole ancestral store of food is gone. He digs into his treasury. His treasury depletes while he sits and eats and eats and eats and eats. And still his rage and greed is unappeased. And then one day arrived when he's informed his larder's empty. More than that, everything he's own's been sold or pawned, all his riches gone. And then his ravenous eyes fall on Mestra. Mestra was unmarried and a pretty girl. Sure, some guy will want to buy her, then he'd use the money for some food. And maybe this next dish will be the one that kills his hunger, and his hunger will expire. Mestra, pretty girl, come over here. She's filled with fear. How'd you like a husband? And he sells her to the first approaching suitor, unfettered by the thought that such an ill match would pollute her. Well, Mestra won't accept such a gritty scheme so easily, escapes her home and books it for the sea. You see, Neptune had already had this pretty beauty's beauty. had ravaged her, though truth be told she had responded willingly. Seeking an escape from imminent slavery, she called upon the one who had claimed her virginity. Neptune heard her prayer. Straightway the god was there and changed the pretty girl into a fisherman. The man who bought her chased her to the beach. He somehow should disappeared. What had happened to his pretty little peach? All he sees is this gnarled old fisherman who looks as though he'd lived there since the dawn of time. You there, sir, who hold the fishing rod, you who hide the hook and tasty bait, and sit here on the beach and fish and wait. Tell me where she is, tell me where you've hit her, that pretty girl who ran past here in just the last 2 minutes. You'd know her by her garments and her tangled hair, and if you look, you'll see that her fake footprints stop right here. Mestra realizes that what Neptune gave her saved her. Delighted that her visage was unknown, she answered him in a pleasing baritone. Her lie was believed. The man was completely deceived and retraced his steps away from the sea. But when Erysichthon perceived his daughter's new power to shift her shape as many times an hour as she pleased, he made this her dower and sold her again and again. Now he sold her as a horse, now he sold her as a cow, then as deer or pretty bird or as a mighty steer, and every time she would run away, escape returning home, and Erysichthon would keep what he'd been paid, and fed his ever-growing plague. But this means of earning green was slow, and every day his malady would grow, and when he had destroyed his health and wealth, can you believe it? He finally ate himself!